Big Order is a 10-episode long spring 2016 anime series. It finished sometime last week, and this is just going to be a quick review, super casual, no script, very little clips. If you're new to the channel, I'd recommend checking out my anime review playlist before you form your opinion, because I just don't have the heart, honestly speaking, to sit there and look at this anime for the 4 to 5, maybe even 6 hours that it takes for me to edit and do my normal reviews, because I put a lot of work into them, I have a lot of pride in them, but I just don't have the heart to look at a Big Order that much longer. I am done with it. I want to put it behind and move on to something else. So Big Order is a 10-episode anime which is adapted from a manga series which is not completed. They're still working on it, and it's from the creator of Mirai Nikki. You can make of that what you will, but the anime series basically took that story, or took parts of that story, and let the script writer of Boku no Pico, all of the episodes of Boku no Pico, the gay pedophilic hentai, and let him just do whatever he wanted with it. So, can't imagine it's going to be that great. Now, basically what the story's about is that you have characters which are granted wishes, and based on their wishes, they're given abilities, which they can use with no restrictions, no cost, no rules, nothing. They can use it as much as they want, and considering the fact that they're based on wishes, there are some really, like, game-breaking, plot-bending, god-tier abilities that we see here, and it's not just with one character, which can kind of throw a wrench in the plot of many anime that we've seen, but it's when you have this many characters, it becomes a total mess, and that's kind of what it is. Our protagonist, Eiichi, is a high school student who believes that he used his wish in order to cause the catastrophic event, the Great Disaster, or the Great Destruction, whatever it's called, where a lot of people died, including his parents, and his sister is also really sick. She's going to die within a few months, and he wants to use his powers in order to create a world where she would be happy. Now, it turns out that his powers weren't actually to cause the Great Destruction. Within the first episode, he learns that they're actually an ability to dominate and change the world around him. And you would imagine, like, okay, what can he do to the world around him? He can do everything he wants to. If he wants to change the air pressure to a point where it can stop a missile in the air, he can do that. If he wants to impregnate a girl by touching her, he can do that. If he wants to control anyone within his path, he can do that. If he wants to control gravity, he can do anything. He's a plot-breaking ability, and he is only one character of the many that has abilities very similar to this, that can just do whatever the hell he wants. So eventually, in the first episode, Eiichi is introduced to an assassin who is out for his head because she believes he is the one responsible for her parents' death and the Great Destruction. Her abilities are not only the unlimited regeneration of herself, everyone else, but everything. She can regenerate everything, no matter what it is, her weapons, inanimate objects, you name it, she regenerates everything. And this quickly turns into a chase/hostage situation as she takes Eiichi's sister, stabs her with her sword, and runs off. Eiichi uses his abilities to bust in the room, and by the way, his abilities are nerfed by 1/1,000,000th, but he still uses his abilities to control the girl to go over there and heal the sword wound on his sister, despite the fact that she can heal anything and even bring flowers back from the dead, but he didn't use her to heal the disease, which is going to kill his sister in a month from now. So, you know, he could have done something about that. But either way, he forces her to kind of... She becomes this pink-haired yandere with a sword that is out for its blood. If that doesn't sound familiar from another series from the same creator, we're just going to move on from that. But she will do things such as, like, grab his dick right in the middle of the episode there, and she'll try and seduce him, kind of, but she's trying to kill him at the same time. And to the show's credit, there was one little snippet of enjoyment that I had out of it, which was when he was forcing her to go everywhere under his command, and they were going through, they would run into traps, and she would always be the one that falls into them, even though it's kind of like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. It was just pretty funny, that part, but it was just like a small little bit of the, I guess, the end of the first and the second episode there. And of course, as the story continues, we move on from these characters which have bare bones characterization and move forward to the several characters which are introduced in every single episode, which have no characterization and only exist because the creators had like a cool ability they could have given somebody, like the ability to take inanimate objects and give them life, the ability to make people have this truce and not want to fight each other, the ability, I guess, to negate everyone's will to fight, and Just there are so many different abilities, and it just goes to the extreme as much as possible, and not really in a good way, because it tries to take itself far too seriously. So they really do go to the extreme. Like, Ichi is at a point where he's controlling several people, and his enemies feel that he is so much of a threat that they launch a nuclear warhead at him, and there he is, controlling the air pressure, controlling the gravity. He's controlling a person who is controlling a golem, which is made out of the crushed up tombstones of everyone he killed in the Great Destruction, which is also somehow embodied by their spirits, I guess. You know, he's doing all of this to stop the warhead, but he still needs the help of those on his side, and it often feels like the end of your typical shonen battle series where you have the character who is weaker than their opponent, and in these cases it's always justified because you have characters in many of these shows which are weaker than the person that they're fighting against, and they need some help from their friends. But with this, you have a character which is essentially God. He could dismantle that missile in midair if he wanted to, but he chose not to, just because they wanted to have this moment where he and his friends are like side by side just screaming and just powering up to take care of the situation. And we do see that a lot, and I'm always left thinking, like, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? So that's basically what you can expect out of the first half of the anime series, and for the second half, I'm just going to give you some loose details because I don't want to spoil anybody, but it is a total clusterfuck of mindfucks with plot twists around every corner. It is so convoluted and amounts to practically nothing because you have characters with unlimited control of space, time, and even memories. And when you have one of these three in a story, it really changes up a lot and can make things overly complicated. And when you have three characters that do that, and many characters that can do things like that, that's just a sample of what you find here. It just becomes a total mess, and even if you were to sit there and take a look at it all, watch it several times and dissect it all really amounts to next to nothing because the characters have very little detail and there's no development here. So this is something that it was totally underwhelming. As for the ending of it, they did wrap everything up, but I just can't say that this was an enjoyable experience. So as for the overall presentation, this is very low budget. It's by a small studio. This looks like something that should have came out in 2004, honestly. And there are these CG creatures which come out with the orders, and they kind of remind me of Stand mixed with the things from Ajin, which were animated much better than this, by the way. And yeah, it didn't really look that great. It looked like it aged right away. And as far as the music, I thought the music was alright. I liked watching the opening to this. And so as for my overall recommendations, I can't say that I recommend this, and in fact, I would recommend not watching Big Order. To its defense, there was some people that I ran into that defended Big Order, but when questioning them, it turned out that either A, they had not seen any of the anime, or B, they had not seen much of the anime. It turns out they just liked the manga series, and I'll say this time and time again, even though the anime and the manga have the same name, they are not the same entities. Take a look at the first Full Metal Alchemist anime, take a look at the first Hellsing anime. There are different people working on different people's stories, so they are not the same things, despite the fact that they have the same name. So I do not recommend watching Big Order. If you like the premise of the show, you might like the manga. I don't know, I really can't say. And also the one episode OVA which came out, I don't recommend that either, because that's an even bigger mess than the anime is. It's kind of reminded me of Mars of Destruction, actually, but of a higher budget. Anyways, if you like this, if you want to watch something similar to that, then I would recommend Code Geass, maybe Mirai Nikki, or maybe even Scryet along those lines with characters with wild powers. So thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for my weekly anime movie reviews and bi-weekly anime series reviews with all sorts of anime news, discussions, and lists in between. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.